Alrighty, let's get started. So, up till now, we've been looking at more traditional structures of businesses or organizations. But with the introduction of technology, the industry or businesses taking in more technological advancement on board, there are other types of structures as well, which come under boundaryless structure. Now, when I say boundaryless structure, I basically mean they're unstructured or they're unconventional, basically. And the three types of boundaryless organizations are hollow organizations, modular, and virtual organizations. So let me give you an example from the real world out there in terms of these type of organization. So Nike or Nike, depending upon how you like to pronounce it, what it does is, because designing is their specialty, they design their shoes and their products. So they have left the designing on themselves. However, the manufacturing bits, they're like, you know what, instead of us doing the manufacturing in-house, why not we just outsource it out to, let's say, a company in China. Now, for them, the core function is basically the design element. So what have they done? They've kept the core function with themselves, and they have outsourced the non-core function, which is basically the production. Now, why has Nike done this or Nike done this? Well, first thing is resources. Now, if you need to produce a product, let's say if you need to produce shoes, for instance, it requires you to have factory, a setup, okay, an area, space, laborers, for instance, your workers, whatever you would like to call it. That's one thing. Second thing is, of course, that was in terms of resources, but if I am producing in USA, of course, it might be more expensive for me as compared to having to produce goods in China. Firstly, I will benefit from the conversion or the exchange rate, maybe, yeah, and also from the cheap labor over there. That's one thing. And this is what most of the companies do as well. Apple produces its phones at a very, very low price. Why? Because a lot of these phones are produced and manufactured in China. And no shade on Apple. That was just an example. I'm not tormenting Apple for today. That being said, this is a type of hollow organization where the company or the organization will first identify what are the core activities or the core functions and what are the non-core activities and the functions. What the organization would do, just like how Nike had done, they will outsource the non-core activities, because they will say, well, these non-core activities are not very much important for our goods or services. They do not add much value as well. And we can get them done cheaper. Designing is something they're not giving to anyone. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages of both of them. Yeah, that Nike is able to save money, but one of the main disadvantages is there is a high chance of their designs being stolen. So if you see in these companies such as Temu, for instance, they will have designs similar to Nike, like Air Force, for instance, their shoes. So yes, making a dupe is very easy nowadays, but not all designs are patented. That's one thing. So yes, designs could be stolen as well. Data protection is also one more thing. Another type of modular organization, another type of boundaryless organization is modular organizations. Now, have you heard of Boeing? The aircraft, the aviation, from the aviation industry, right? Yeah, we already know perhaps the controversies around Boeing. You don't want to be on the bad side of the books. Then you don't even know whether you will be around as well, okay? But not going into those controversial discussions, but rather going into what Boeing had done. They have a type of aircraft, which is Dreamliner. Now, of course, manufacturing is their core thing. They can't just outsource the manufacturing, and designing is also the core thing. But what Boeing had done, And again, look at from a business point of view. To manufacture an aircraft, it's just not a one-time thing. It is not easy. It has a lot of parts, and these are significant parts. Engine is there, wings, cockpit, the body, the interior. So what happened was Boeing had, for their Dreamliner, divided these task activities into different modules, these manufacturing tasks and activities into different modules, and had got them outsourced or perhaps done from different, companies. And then they're asked those companies to bring us these, let's say company A will do the manufacturing of engines. Company B will do the exterior body. Company C will do the wings and the cockpit, for instance, and company D will do interior. And once all these components were manufactured, Boeing in their hangar or their organization, they brought them together. So in this case, what had happened? The company had divided the activity. This is a single activity, which is a manufacturing activity, into multiple components or modules. That's why it is called as a modular organization. Final thing is virtual organization. Now, virtual organization basically means that the company is operating entirely virtually. They may not have a proper office. They may have a so-called head office in a free zone, and that would be just one desk office, just for the sake of having a license, maybe. Or it could be a virtual business altogether. Their customer service department or the call center would be perhaps somewhere in India. Their manufacturing is being done perhaps somewhere in China. They may have warehouses, but their warehouses are not their own. Rather, they have been leased out or rented by different companies. Classic example is Amazon. This is what Amazon does. Amazon is not a customer-facing organization. Amazon has outsourced almost all their tasks. Now, what is the purpose of Amazon? Amazon is like a marketplace where products meet the buyers or consumers meet the products, basically. So the call center, their suppliers, all this communication is all e-communication. So that's why it's a virtual organization. Virtual organization is mainly applicable for in companies which do not have defined location,